The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. Please do not adjust your computers. Yes, my voice is significantly lower. And before you write in, and I'm totally fine. I've just got some throat things happening, so I'm just going to sound like Lauren Bacall today. That's what it's going to be like today. But I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be here all this week because we have some amazing things lined up for you. I'm really, really excited about every single day this week, things that are going on. So thrilled that you're here. We're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective, from all the different things that might be going on in each individual's lives. We know that this is not a one-size-fits-all community, so we know that what's going on for you may not be what's going on for somebody else, but I will tell you that we want to help all of you to get to resources and get to information that are going to help you to get to the next level, to get to the progress that you want to see. Because the one thing I'm 100% sure on sitting in this chair is that there's progress available for absolutely all of us. Whether you're a parent working with an individual on the autism spectrum, whether you're a teacher, a practitioner, or you yourself are the person who's on the spectrum, we welcome you. We welcome your comments, your suggestions for things that you want us to be talking about here on the show. We welcome your rants when there's something that's really kicking your keister. We want to know all about that. So, as I said, the whole show is meant to be interactive. Kelby's going to show you some of the different ways that you can interact with us. And I'll remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, so many things to do. I really want to encourage you to sign up for our free newsletter. You can do that by going up to the whiteboard up at the top over the computer screen and click on the little area that says join our email list. And that will get you the free newsletter, which is going to get you the possibility of some really fabulous things starting on November 18th. Our Festival of Toys starts, and we're going to be giving away, I just can't even believe the stuff. If you thought it was great last year, wait till this year. We're going to be giving away some amazing, amazing toys. You want to be eligible to win them, so make sure that you sign up for that free newsletter. I also want to remind you that when you're on the homepage, you can be watching the live show or a recently recorded live show. You can scroll through all the shows that we've done on the playlist up in the upper left-hand corner. But you can also interact with us right there. You see those white boxes that are to the side of the computer screen? Put your cursor in the box that says your question, start typing, hit enter, and that's all you have to do. There is no login. You don't have to have a username or a password, and there's no charge. It's totally free. And in this way, you can be interacting with me, you can be interacting with my guests, and that's a wonderful thing. I want to get you access to the things that you want to know more about. So since we're talking about my guests and the experts that visit us here on the show that we're so lucky to have a chance to interact with, I want to remind you, as I always do at the start of the show, that I'll have experts on the show, but I'm not one of them. I am not an expert in autism, and we must never get confused about that. I'm a mom. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and I'm so thrilled to report that he is now 11, about to be 11 and a half, and he is the most amazing young man. And I have the ability to communicate with him and know what's going on in his head and hear about his feelings and what frightens him and what concerns him and what he wants to do and the goals that he has in his life. And when he's frustrated, I get to hear about all of that and have that two-way communication happening with him. And I have that partially because I'm incredibly lucky, I will admit to that, but largely because I got good information at the right time and then we took action on it. So if I could have taken action all day and twice on Sunday, but if it hadn't been things that were really truly helpful and worked, it would have been a waste of time. And I am so grateful that I got that information from other parents. I was looking for things on the internet, but I got information from other parents. They helped me to find my way on this path. And for years, I would always say to that one particular parent who helped me, "What am I going to do to repay you?" And she said, "You're not going to pay me back, you're going to pay it forward." So I want you to know that that's why I'm here, to pay it forward by helping to connect you with things. But let's not be confused. I'm not one of the experts. I'm in the trenches learning. I want to know more about autism because I want to understand my son and I want to understand all of our kids and I want to understand and be able to help all of our kids to the best of my ability because I have a lot to pay forward. I'm incredibly grateful for everything that I've got. But that's what my deal is here, and put me to work. If there's something that you're stuck on and you don't know how to get the help and support that you need, and you've got that tape running in your head over and over and over about there is no help, there is no support, I can't afford it, we don't have it here. Some of those things are true, right? But there's always a way around it. This is what I've learned in the many years, and I know that there are so many of you out there that have had more years experience at this, but I think that's what we all learn at some point is when there's a will, there's a way, and I would love to have the privilege of helping you to find your way to get the things that you need on this journey through autism. So write into us. We want you to participate with us. Having said that, we like to start the morning, every morning, with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out what in the hey nani are those experts talking about. It feels like we've stepped into an entire other world of jargon, and it can be frustrating and it can be debilitating. If you don't know what the experts are talking about, how are you supposed to be able to use it in your life to get to that progress? I was one of those people that said, no, don't talk to me using those words. Dumb it down. Take those words out of the conversation. And eventually I learned, it took me a couple of years, but I learned that if I made friends with these terms, I could get further and I could get more progress going in our family life. So I made peace with it and tried to bring these terms into some sort of sense in my life. And that's why we do this, just one little bit every day, a little bit of progress. So we have here SD because it was one of the things that Dr. Grandpichet said last week, and I thought, we haven't covered this in a long time. So let's talk about, and for those of you who are using skills, you're going to see this time and time again, but even for the rest of you who aren't using skills, if you're getting good quality ABA, and please, I hope and pray that all of you are getting access to good quality ABA. And if you're not, let's figure it out. Let's find out how we get you access to it. But this is a term that you're going to hear. So what is an SD and why does it have this small d? What in the heck are they talking about? So our actual definition, SD stands for discriminative stimulus. I know. Why isn't it DS then? But it's not. It's discriminative stimulus. It's a circumstance or action that precedes reinforcement. Okay, if you've been watching the show, that might make sense to you, right? But if you're fairly new to this autism community and you're fairly new to ABA, you go, what does that mean? A circumstance or action that precedes reinforcement? What does this have to do with me today? So let's move on to our working definition. SD, discriminative stimulus, what you say or do to get the child to do the desired response. Oh, okay, so if what I want to do is teach the child compliance and saying, come here, then I have to figure out what happens that I get the child to actually come here. And I can have my SD be vocal. I can say, come here. I can hold up a text sign saying, come here. I can hold up an arrow. I could point, right? There are lots of different ways that I could signal to anyone, I want you to come here. Whatever I choose to do is my SD. My target is that I want the child to comply, and in this case, the compliance is that they come to me. My target might be to get the child to sit. So that's the behavior that I want to see. My SD is the thing that I say or do to try to signal that once the child does it, they're going to get reinforced. That's the really important part of it. That I'm setting up a circumstance with this individual saying, this is what I want you to do. And when they do it, you're going to get reward. Yay! We know, and we talk about this all the time on the show, that none of us, doesn't matter whether you're on the autism spectrum or not, none of us are going to do something over and over and over again unless there's some kind of reward, right? So we set up these circumstances, these little microcosms in our child's day where we're going to teach them something, and when they get it, we're going to reward them. This is the keys to the kingdom right here. If you're having a child that is not learning and engaging in challenging behavior, this is how we turn this equation around. We want to reduce the behaviors that are preventing all the good things from happening, and we want to increase the behaviors that lead to all the good things. And how do we do that? By setting up a circumstance where the child has an expectation. You do this, you're going to get a reward. If you think about it for a second, your whole life runs this way, right? When you get up in the morning and you don't feel good and it's still dark outside and you have to jump in the shower because you're going to go to work. Why? For some people, we love our jobs, right? That's the reward. For other people, it's strictly the paycheck, but it's a reward. We know that we're going to get something good for engaging in this behavior. And that if we don't, somewhere down the road, it's going to hurt, right? But if we do this right now, we get a reward. We want to set up that circumstance for our child. So when you see somebody say, well, what's the SD, or the SD is this, it's the thing that you say or do to get to the to get the desired response, but you're also signaling to the child, and you're going to get a paycheck for it. We can use this with ourselves. We can use this with our kids. It's a great thing. So SD, we don't have to be afraid of this term. All right, moving on. We always have a question of the day for you. Our question today. Oh, it's a good one. I want to hear you, Dave, today. What infuriates you because it doesn't make good sense? Doesn't it drive you buggy when there's something that makes good sense and it should be done a certain way, but for whatever reason, for whatever bizarre reason, somebody's doing something and it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever? This is the kind of stuff that gets me really going. And you know, when my son was in kindergarten, it was a half-day kindergarten, and they had this policy that was in the school handbook that if you were going to get special services, you could only get them within school hours. Okay, this makes sense to me because they don't want to have staff coming in at 7 o'clock to deliver these special services. That makes total sense. But the way they were reading it was that the half-day kindergartners, it was their school hours. So if they were going to get speech or they were going to get OT, they would get pulled out of their kindergarten class to have speech and OT. So your kid only is there until noon, and they're supposed to be in class, and they tell you how important it is for the child to be in class, but they would miss half of it because they were in speech and OT, and it was the kids who desperately needed to be with the other kids. And I asked the question, why don't you have the kids who are in the morning kindergarten have their extra services in the afternoon, and for the kids who have their kindergarten in the afternoon, have them have their extra services in the morning? Because it just makes good sense. These children will be in the seat, in the classroom, interacting with the teacher and their peers when they're supposed to be. which we know is important, and they will get their services, and it will all be within school hours. And people looked at me like I was crazy. But it made good sense, and eventually they did it. And until they did it, I was like, really fatutzed? Why aren't we making good sense? So what drives you buggy? What's really tearing your ticket that doesn't make good sense that you have the good sense for? I want to hear from you guys. You can write in on our Facebook. I want to have an opportunity to read these later on. This is your opportunity. Every once in a while, I like to give you a chance to rant, so bring it. Maybe we can get somebody to change what they're doing as a result of it. All right, we always have a topic for the week. Can you guess what the topic is? It's doing what makes sense. Because sometimes we're the people who are doing the thing that doesn't make sense. We've gotten into a pattern of doing something. I know as a parent, I do this all the time. You would think I would know better, but I don't. I get into a pattern of doing something with my son because that's the way we've done it. And I haven't thought it through and said, wait a minute, what makes sense here? Wait a minute. What makes sense? Every once in a while, we have to step back, take that breath and go, wait. What's the most important thing here? And am I working towards that, or am I letting other stuff enter in? Making sense. It saves us time, it saves us energy, and it leads to happier, more productive people, right? So we're going to be talking about this all week long, and we've got some amazing guests for you to talk about what makes sense. So very first out the gate this morning, we have Dr. Sush. He is he's a BCBA, a board certified behavior analyst, but he is also a clinical psychologist specializing in treating parents of children who are on the autism spectrum. How much does that make sense, right? I think it's what we would all want, is to have a therapist who understands what we're going through. I can tell you, I went to therapy at a certain point when we were doing our ABA therapy, and it was frustrating because the therapist had no idea what I was talking about when I was bringing up some of the issues. So we're going to talk to a doctor who gets it. I'm so excited. Making sense here. I've already had an opportunity this morning. We're going to play a tape for you a little bit later on to talk with Kevin Custer. He talked with us this morning about Innovation Playground. This is another great thing that makes great sense. Kevin is a venture capitalist who takes companies that are inventing things to help, that are educational and for the special needs community, and he helps, if it makes good sense, he helps to bring it to market so that you and I can buy it. Is that not a wonderful sense? And then we have, to round out our show today, we have Sean Henry and Simon Bearer, and they're going to be joining us talking about Ocali and this wonderful conference that they have coming up. If we want to talk about how can schools and communities get involved with our special needs kids and make a difference, we really want to be looking to Ohio. They have set a standard that is incredibly high, and they've got a big conference that brings together all the things that they do all year long. And so Sean and Simon are going to be with us to talk about how they're making sense out of having autism in the community and in the classroom in something called Ocali. So all of that and ever so much more, plus your comments and the things that infuriate you that don't make sense, all of that and more after these messages. But first, take a look at this.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees Every single grant we give, she is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What
yes.
did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle, and without that, they wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. We underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of the community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm so excited because all this week we're talking about making good sense, and we have with us Dr. Darren Sush, and I can't think of anything that makes more good sense than what you're doing. So thrilled to have you here. And we should start by saying that you are a clinical psychologist.
That's right.
And a board-certified behavior analyst.
Yes.
And that's not all that unusual for us to have on our show. We deal with lots of board-certified behavior analysts, and a lot of them are clinical psychologists. So, that's a great thing. But the difference is that you have a specialty where you treat the parents of the children on the autism spectrum.
Exactly. And a lot of times when I tell people what I do, that confuses them because they ask about my work with the kids or working within an ABA program. But what I do within my private practice is I work specifically with the parents of the children with special needs who are on the autism spectrum.
Well, I gotta say, honestly, I got chills when I first heard about what you were doing because I wish there were more of you.
Me too.
Because it's a thing that makes such great sense. This is a community of people that we know could use some help and support.
Yes, definitely.
Always.
Definitely.
And yet, I know many people, myself included, the first time that I went to a therapist after my son was diagnosed with autism and said, I need some help, I was having anxiety issues, I found that all the things that I were talking about had to do with what was happening in my home, and this licensed therapist had no idea what I was talking about. I might as well have been talking about being on the moon. She really had no concept of it.
Right, and I think everyone can benefit from participating in some form of therapy, but I think it's especially true for parents who have children with special needs, especially for parents who have children with special needs on the autism spectrum. Yeah. There's just so many unique issues, unique circumstances that these parents are going to encounter that having someone to talk to or having someone to access support from is extremely important. And ideally, someone who's well-versed and well-aware in the diagnosis of autism will be able to understand where the parents are coming from, whether it be just the diagnosis in general, the problem behaviors that are associated with the diagnosis, the communication difficulties, and also just all the extra stuff about accessing resources, trying to go and hang out with family and friends, and have maybe 5 seconds with your spouse. These are all things that are not necessarily unique to being a parent, but have very unique experiences for parents of children with autism.
Absolutely. Amen to that. So let's talk just briefly about it, because this is your private practice. Mm-hmm. Your practice is in Brentwood, California.
That's right.
So how can people get in touch with you if they would like to participate?
Sure. They can access my website, always www.drdarrensush.com.
Okay, so Dr. Darren
drdarrensush.com or info@drdarrensush. That emails me directly, or they can call me on the phone.
Okay.
424-248-9709.
Okay, great. Because we want to make sure that people who are in the California area who have access to that can get it. That's amazing, absolutely amazing. But then I want to talk a little bit about, there are probably many parents out there that are listening right now that maybe the thought has occurred to them, I could use some help and support, but they're prioritizing it last.
Oh yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about why it might benefit them to prioritize it higher.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Parents of children with autism, rightfully so, are so focused on helping their children, whether it be accessing services or just making sure that every need that they have is taken care of, and that in and of itself is a full-time job. So what ends up happening is that many parents of kids with autism don't access support for themselves because they either feel guilty about it, or they just don't have the time for it, or their energy is just not available anymore. But the problem with that, unfortunately, is that by kind of neglecting yourself, you're not helping yourself to be able to help your family.
Yeah. We talk a lot on this show about the whole concept when you're on an airplane and the air masks drop, and they tell us every time we're on the airplane, you got to put the air mask on yourself first, even if you have a small child. And as a mom, I hear that and I go, I don't think I could do that in an emergency.
Exactly, yeah.
But there's a reason why. And they explain it to you on the plane because you have to make sure that you can breathe before you can help your child to be able to breathe.
Exactly. If you pass out, you can't help your child. Yeah. And if you're not getting the support and resources that you need, then yes, you can still be there for your child, but maybe not necessarily to the degree that you would be if you were getting supportive services for yourself as well.
And maybe not for the duration, because we know that this is not a sprint, that having a child with special needs is a marathon. And I have seen many parents drop and fall, and some recover after they drop and fall. I was somebody who, dropped and fell and had to get help to be picked back up to get back in the game. And I want to encourage other parents to not wait until that long.
I always say, and I repeat it time and time again, getting support for yourself is supporting your family.
It is. You want to be there for the long haul. So what are some of the kinds of things that parents come in with that you've been able to help them with?
Well, kind of like you mentioned, the diagnosis of autism is a marathon, not a sprint. So I think as you encounter each one of those instances or episodes or time periods, there's going to be unique things that you'll encounter. So whether it be the stress that comes along with a diagnosis, or even the questions that come before receiving a diagnosis, maybe you see that there's something a little bit different, or you have some concerns that there's something going on with your child that you want to get taken a look at. And then the child grows up and enters school, so there's going to be stress and worry that comes along with that, maybe even moving into middle school and high school, and peer pressure, and unfortunately bullying issues that have, I guess you could say, fortunately become more popular, that people are talking about them today. Unfortunately that they're happening, but at least people are more aware of them. And then moving beyond high school and potentially college and adulthood. So I think the issues that parents of children with autism can potentially face are that marathon.
Okay, all very important. Are you willing to stay for a few more minutes?
Sure, of course.
Because what I want to talk about is anger.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to take okay. All right, so we're going to take a short break, but again, I want to remind you, drdarrensush.com. You can go and check out services that are there in his private practice, but we're going to take a break and come back, and we're going to talk with Dr. Sush about anger. Stick with us.
Hi, this is Lisa Ackerman, back again, Talk of Facts. Wanted to share with one of the most popular questions that we get, and that is, do children with autism recover? I don't know how to say it loud enough. Yes! Scream it from the mountaintops. We've seen it and witnessed it for over a decade at TACA. Thousands of children that lose their diagnosis. They become indistinguishable from their peers following therapeutics and medical intervention. And in 2013, the NIH, the National Institute of Health, agreed. They studied children that had an autism diagnosis and did an in-depth analysis, and so showed that children with autism actually can recover. And what I'm so excited about is the odds are in your favor. The study concluded that 10 to 20% of children with autism will recover after intensive early intervention and therapeutics and medical intervention. You may be thinking, wait, 10, 20%? That doesn't seem like a big number. Let me tell you why it is. For decades, we've been told autism is a no hope, nothing you can do. And what we know today is, yes, there is hope. So now that people know that recovery is possible, it's actually an option that can happen for families that, put what they can into the journey and, God willing, get their kid through the other side so they can live their lives in a beautiful way. I'm excited to share with you that recovery is possible. So now we can all shoot for that together.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm here with Dr. Darren Sush, and I asked him to stay because he is a board-certified behavior analyst, which is a wonderful thing, always. But he's also a clinical psychologist who specializes in treating parents of children on the autism spectrum. He brings that full knowledge of what ABA therapy is like in a home to that practice, dealing with parents and all the stressors that they have, both because of the ABA therapy. Let's face it, that adds stress to a parent's life, but all the other things happening as well. And I asked him to stay to talk with us about anger, and I was saying during the break that we're getting ready to do a whole series of shows on anger because, we've done stuff on anxiety, we're going to do more stuff on anxiety, but the anger is pervasive in our community. We all have a certain amount of anger. Some of us deal with it, we all deal with it in different ways, but some of us get buried by it. Sometimes, I think sometimes I get buried, I have anger, and sometimes I get buried by it, and sometimes I'm okay, and then somebody will do or say something, and boy, it's like I'm right back there, right? So I wondered if you could talk with us a little bit about, why we're all having that anger, and maybe how we might work through that in therapy, and maybe give us some information that might help us today.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I think the most helpful thing that I can say is that, and it sounds so simple, is that everyone gets angry. And I think if you are able to at least say that to yourself and accept that for yourself, that everyone gets angry and it's all right to be angry at things, then that puts you leaps and bounds ahead of the game. Yeah. Everyone does get angry. It's what you do with that anger that can be problematic, but at least accepting the fact that something happened and you can be angry about it is okay, and it's part of being a human being. And in many cases, like you mentioned, it's part of being a parent of a child with autism. There's a lot of stuff to be angry about. Someone's in your home all the time. Yes, they're doing great things for your kid, and a lot of parents fight to get those people in their homes. Mm-hmm. But, someone's in your home all the time, and that could be something to be angry about. Or you could be angry that your child has to struggle with some of the things that they have to struggle with, or that they're not able to express themselves. Or you're angry at the fact that you're upset about those things. So I think it makes sense to be angry, and the first thing that you can do is accept the fact that you are angry about it, and then that helps you to be able to do something productive with that anger.
Yeah.
Sometimes the anger can lead you to be productive.
Well, I think you're right, because you know, when we try to stuff the feelings and say, I shouldn't be feeling that, I shouldn't, you know, that, I don't get anywhere when I try to do that. But I think that sometimes I am able to channel my anger in different ways, to educating someone sometimes when they make me angry, or doing something else that has nothing to do with that person that's productive in another direction, useful for me. So if I were a parent coming to your practice and I said, you know, I really want to work on anger issues, because this could happen. This is not, we're talking about a friend of mine. If I were going to do therapy, this is exactly what I would say, because I see in my life, I said this to somebody the other day, there are so many times when I've had to be warrior mom that I can turn that on over nothing, and I would like to move past that in my life. Is that something that somebody could work on in your practice?
Definitely, and kind of like you're saying, that the teapot strategy never works. You know, trying to bury it down and hold it in, it just doesn't work, because it's going to pour out somewhere in your life. It's either going to pour out in your work, where it's just becoming more difficult, or your relationships with people you work with is going to struggle, your relationships with your family is going to struggle, or you're just not going to feel good.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, having someone to talk to, having someone who's there to listen, and whether that be someone like myself, or just a family member who's maybe removed from the situation, or a friend who you do feel comfortable expressing yourself to, then that's the first thing that parents can do for themselves to help with the anger, the anxiety, the depression that's likely going to come.
And it seems like those three things are very intertwined: the anger, the anxiety, and the depression.
Definitely. You could be depressed because you're feeling angry, and angry that you're anxious, and they all relate. We don't live on black and white spectrums. We're people that intermingle.
Yes. And those are normal reactions for us when we have a child who has been diagnosed with something. But it's also, I'm thinking, a fairly normal reaction for our teens once they realize, when they get that full awareness of, okay, the rules are a little bit different for me. I don't have it like everybody else. That those are kind of normal reactions to have.
Definitely.
Thank heavens for you, Dr. Sush.
Thank you.
It's such a wonderful, wonderful idea of having somebody who is a board-certified behavior analyst who gets what that is like, being able to deal with those issues with parents of children with autism spectrum. Don't you love him? We adore you. You have to come back on a regular basis.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Okay, great. So if you, we're gonna let Dr. Sush go, but if you want more information, you should go to www.drdarrensush.com. It's Darren with 2 R's.
That's right.
D-A-R-R-E-N. So DRDARRENSUSH.com. You should go there and check that out. And then if you have questions for Dr. Sush, you can write them into us, and we will have him back. So feel free to throw your questions our way. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and thank you for coming here.
Great.
We loved having you here. So, all right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we've got some in the news for you, so stick with us.
Riley has high-functioning autism, and I'd say I noticed somewhere between 9 months and a year. Looking back now, I can tell you everything. I mean, there was no pointing, there was no shared experiences, speech was not coming, the interactive play was not coming, those things weren't happening. You know, you go to the pediatrician, they tell you, well, sometimes boys are slow, or things might take a while to come along, but it still wasn't happening. And right when he hit the 2-year-old room in preschool is when the wheels fell off the wagon. That's when we got some intervention. That's when we figured out, you know, how are we going to address this problem. The first thing I did was I got a mentor, because there's no book on what to do with your autistic child. I mean, there's many books, but each path is individual. So I got a mentor, a really nice woman named Marlene. She has a daughter with Asperger's, and she told me, go to a psychiatrist so you can have your child fully diagnosed and a rock-solid diagnosis that can't really be attacked. Call CARD and do whatever they tell you to do. That was probably the thing she talked about the most. get in touch with CARD. She actually put me in touch with Evelyn from CARD, and calling CARD was like amazing, because I really felt like things were finally going to be okay. We were going to get the help we needed.
We tried a number of different things before we could get into CARD, and you could really see the difference in the data keeping, really addressing what his issues were, whereas the other places we had been, it seemed pointless to me.
We've talked about this, and I feel like we met a lot of really nice, well-intentioned people.
Right.
And then when we got to CARD, we met a lot of really nice people who could help us because they had the experience. It was ABA, which I think is the only way to go with your child if you're trying to overcome autism. And if you go to CARD, the people are so qualified, and there's so much of a database on how to approach this. It's just like they come right in, and we started off with, let's have Riley sit down for 2 seconds, because he couldn't even get that. And we worked on baby steps until now he's in 1st grade and he's working at grade level. So it just starts with baby steps, and it keeps working on because they have a way to approach every single problem, every single tantrum, every single thing you're going to come up with. They have a way to approach it and help you get through it.
Yeah, I'm always amazed, like at our clinic, we'll be having a specific problem, and how good they are, all of them, the therapist and your team leader, at coming up with a solution, something to try, and it almost always works. Whatever the particular behavior you're trying to deal with, they're really good at them. They know the answers.
He likes a lot of stuff I think regular 7-year-olds like. He likes to swim.
He loves to swim.
He's a fish. Likes to ride a scooter, loves Toy Story, loves playing on the iPad.
Loves Justin Bieber.
Thought you all baby mine.
Good job, buddy.
High five.
High five.
High five.
Yeah.
CARD's been good about encouraging us to do things that maybe wouldn't occur to us, like him learning to ride a bike was really them saying, hey, it's time, let's do this, and helping us do that, and so he can ride a bike. He's still working on the brakes a little bit, but you know, he can pedal a bike. We can go to Balboa Park and he'll ride happy as a clam along the bike path.
If you think something's wrong, it's not about you. Don't bury your head in the sand. Go get help, because the help is out there to make your life and your child's life just so much better. And if you're lucky enough to get in with CARD, I can't even tell you what a difference it's made in our lives from 4 years ago. Just the quality of life we have, the quality of life Riley has, the progress he's made from being a child who wanted to stay in his room and play Toy Story and line up his Toy Story dolls all day, to a 1st grader who's working at grade level. It couldn't have happened without CARD intervention, without ABA, and without all the wonderful people we met there.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We've got a story in the news to report this morning that gives us a great deal of hope. Peyton Blodgett, who is 8 years old, who went missing on Saturday from his home in Florida, was found yesterday, and he is in the hospital, and he's having some kidney issues and may in fact need a kidney transplant, but he has been found, and we're really encouraged by those news, and we're all pushing for and pulling for Peyton, and if you're a praying kind of person, we hope that you will include him in your prayers. But so he was found on Monday. That was a significant amount of time that he was out in the woods. As I mentioned, he has suffered some kidney issues, but his mom is confident that he will make a full recovery. Anyway, the mom, in the story that we're reporting from, the mom let out a big hoot when she found out that the deputies had recovered her son, and was very, very deeply grateful. We thank all of the people who were part of the deputy squad who were searching for this young boy who is on the autism spectrum, and we're happy to report that he is alive, he's in the hospital, and we'll continue to include him in our prayers for for him to make a speedy recovery. All right, we're going to be back with more of Autism Live after these messages.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. This month we're going to be creating our very own any animal mask. As we work on this activity, you'll notice that these icons will pop up. These icons tell you important information about what skills we're using to create this craft and how to find them on Skills. Skills is an ABA-based online program that helps parents create individualized programs for their children on the autism spectrum. If you are a Skills user, this will make the most out of this artful and educational activity. Well, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are glue, scissors, hole puncher, markers or crayons, pipe cleaners, and the template. So step 1, you're gonna go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/autism-live, and you're gonna print out the templates that you see there. Once your templates are printed out, then you're gonna take your scissors and cut them all out. Now that you're finished cutting out all the templates, you're gonna have several different shapes. This is because this will give you a variety of different features you can use to make different kinds of animals. So this is the fun part. You're gonna take these templates and arrange them into any kind of animal you can think of. Use your imagination. There is no wrong answer. Once you figured out the animal that you're gonna want to make, take out your glue and glue them onto the mask. Once that's been finished, then you're gonna take your markers and crayons and decorate it, drawing in the features a little bit clearly and just making it as colorful as you'd like it to be. For the owl that I made, I had to cut out some more holes through it. Once your animal mask is done being decorated, you're going to use your hole puncher to make holes on the side so you can fasten it to your face. Then you're going to take your pipe cleaners, thread them through the holes, and then voila, your mask is ready to go. Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity with me. Until next time, guys, craft on. To find more about Skills and to access all of the lessons you saw in today's Smarty, visit skillsforautism.com and click on the parents icon. Skills, the online autism solution.
Welcome back to Autism Live. A couple of program notes here. Many of you have asked for the emotion templates that go to a Smarty that was several months ago. And they are on our Facebook, buried somewhere down deep. But and those of you who wrote in and emailed in and Facebooked in asking for them, I know that Kelby was so sweet and sent those to you via email. But since so many of you are requesting it, somebody must have shared it. And by the way, we love it when you guys share our stuff. It's a wonderful thing. It gets out further. But Kelby's going to repost it on our Facebook so that it'll be at the top for those of you who have been asking for the emotion template for the Smarty. Those will be on our Facebook probably in the next 24 hours. Kelby's going to do that for you because he's just that kind of a guy. And, oh, he did it already. Look at that. Look at how amazing. Thank you, Kelby. I wanted to take a couple of seconds to talk about our question of the day. We asked you guys what infuriates you because it doesn't make good sense. Like, this just happens so often, right? So a couple of you guys wrote in on some things that I'm like right there with you. Somebody wrote in and said healthcare. Oh, my goodness. It's a mess right now, huh? And I will be honest with you, I'm somebody who really wants to see everybody get good health care. I don't know that that's happening. I know that we make strides forward and then we see, oh, okay, that didn't work. So I hope that brighter minds than mine are working on it in a different way. That's what I'm hoping for today, because at the bottom line for me is we should all be able to get good health care. It should not be dependent on what you can afford. It should not be dependent on somebody's rules about who can see who when. Oh, it's just a little crazy right now. Another person who says it does not make sense for them to keep saying that the cause of autism is unknown. And I think the one thing that I would change in your sentence is that the causes of autism. I think that's why they're saying it that way, because that's, we know that there are things that raise the risk, but putting it all together, is something that they have not been able to do yet. Somebody else who says what really infuriates them, because it makes no sense, is when someone says my child is a brat or just needs spanked. And I hope it's okay that we have a guest that we haven't had on the show, and I really need to invite him to tell this story on his own. But a wonderful gentleman who is on this show on a fairly regular basis posted on his Facebook the other day that his son was with him in line at a store and needed to throw something away in a trash can. He gave it to his son and said, go throw it in the trash can. And you know how sometimes our kids, especially when they're in a different place and there's different sensory stuff, his son had a little bit of trouble figuring out where the trash can was. Ultimately got there, but it just took a couple of seconds. And there was a woman who was in line with them who then turned to whoever she was with and said, oh, this kid, he can't even find his way to the trash can. And the dad said, he wanted to just say a few things, but he took a moment, took a breath, and said, this is an educational moment, and took a breath and said to this woman, that's my son, and he's on the autism spectrum. And that's pretty much all he said. And then the woman felt like 2 cents looking for change, as she should have, right? And immediately apologized and said, I'm so sorry. I should think before I speak. I should know better, which was wonderful. So it was a lovely little moment. And then the son who's on the spectrum came back and saw that his dad was talking to the woman and said to the woman, it's unhealthy to smoke, because she must have smelled like cigarettes. I heard this and was like, yay! Because I thought that the dad handled it in such a wonderful way, and I loved the fact that the son was just so completely blunt with the woman and let her know she smelled like an ashtray. Yay! People are ignorant. I used to be an ignorant person in terms of this kind of thing, and I don't know that I'm completely fetched up. There are times when I see something and for whatever reason my brain does not process. I don't automatically assume when someone is behaving in a certain way that it may be more than I know. I don't know what it's going to take for me to do that. I think that I do sometime. And more, I find that I look at homeless people in an entirely different way than I did even 2 years ago. And I'm looking at them now and thinking, are you on the spectrum? Are you you're clearly somebody who's dealing with mental health issues, and have I been compassionate enough? But that's when I just see them, not when they're coming up to me and accosting me. I still take a long time to get through that process. So I have hope for all of us that we're going to get to the compassion place, that we're going to get to the place of, I don't know, so maybe I shouldn't speak. I'm hoping that I personally get there. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. Certainly not perfection in that respect, but I really hope that we get there. I will tell you, too, something that I wanted to talk about today on the show. I love the series Dream School. And the new season has started, and I'm not caught up. But I'm really fascinated with this season because there are kids in this season who clearly have issues of a different kind. They've gone through some trauma, some of them. There's one who has ADHD. There's another who has an anxiety disorder. One who's dyslexic. So we're dealing with some different issues, and I really, really appreciate being able to see that these are kids who weren't succeeding in the regular school system, and they were doing okay until they got into junior high school, and then it all fell apart for them. And so they've gone to Dream School. There's also a girl who had a child who had a teenage pregnancy. There are kids who got kicked out for drug use. There are kids who were kicked out of school for fighting. So it's a big gamut of individuals, and they bring celebrity teachers in to teach them, and they have teachers who have a little bit different viewpoint, but there's always a principal, and the principal is supposed to toe the line and make sure that the educational things happen. There's a great reason for that, right? Because we got to make sure that we get someplace. But what's so fascinating to me about 3 episodes in is we talk all the time here about when somebody is doing something, it's behavior. That's all it is behavior. And the behavior is communication, and they're telling us something. And I really appreciate that this principal is willing to be videotaped dealing with these kids, because she doesn't know what she's doing. I mean, I love her, and she's trying to learn, which is the most we can ask of anybody, right? But she says at one point, I don't know what to do with this child. But she doesn't give up on them. And I really, really appreciate that. But what's fascinating to me is, like me, she jumps to something. Well, it's got to be this way because it has to be, because these are the rules and this is the way we must do it. And then they talk her back from that and say, you need to talk to the kid. You need to talk to this teenager to find out what's going on. And what she ultimately finds out is that when the kid acted out, there was a reason. There was a reason. And the talking it out and finding out what the reason is, then they come up with something that actually works. Now, I love watching that as a parent of an individual who's on the autism spectrum, because we talk about that all the time here, that our kids are engaging in the behavior because something's going on and we may not understand it, but before we have our reaction, we have to begin to figure out why this behavior is happening. It's not happening in a vacuum. It's not random. It's not from outer space, even though it looks weird, it looks defiant, it looks like it's, you know, any one of 1,000 things, or it looks like it's not respect, right? But it isn't. It's because a need is not getting met, and so they need to get the need met in a different way. And now 2 times the principal has seen, okay, I need to ask questions. I need to not jump. So I'm hoping she's going to learn that. I'm learning it with her. I want to encourage you guys to check it out, because it's some of the kinds of things that we deal with our kids. And we don't always get to ask our kids and say, what's going on? Why did you do this? Why did this happen? Sometimes we have to be a little bit more of a detective to figure it out from our kids. But the truth is, it's still the same. The behavior is there for a reason. It's not happening in a vacuum. It's not random. It's communication. And when we can figure out what's being communicated and give them a better way to communicate that, then we're working on all pistons, and that's what makes sense. That's when we go, oh, well, I would behave that way too. And that's exactly what happened for this principal. She was like, well, you can't do that. That's disrespectful. This, you know. And then once she heard the whole story and could take it from a 360-degree perspective, she went, okay, that makes sense why you did that. Here's what I'd rather you do next time, because that would make most sense. And that's when they got to the progress. I kind of really love watching that. In any case, we're going to take a break, and we're going to go to the A word, which is about learning about behavior as well. Jack Riley was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2, and what this series does is puts a window into his household so that we can see what early intensive quality ABA therapy is like, how they begin to make sense of how to teach Jack Riley, how Jack Riley begins to realize, hey, it makes more sense for me to behave in this way because then I get the reward, and how the parents make peace with that as well. It's all about making sense. So take a look. This is the A word.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack.
Jack Riley.
He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast.
Hi, Jessica.
Jessica's daddy.
That's right. Who's this? Who's this?
Bobby.
And who's that?
Daddy.
Who's that? Over there? Who's that?
She's him.
And I totally think he's just aware of a lot of things now. People's names.
How's the behavior team going with the inflexibilities?
He's still a big control guy. He still wants it the way he wants it.
In sessions, he was very, he'd get very upset.
And he gets upset fast, like for reasons that didn't used to upset him. He gets upset fast, and then once he's upset, everything upsets him.
Were they really long?
But it was a good half hour, the whole tantrum, which is long for him. Mm-hmm. Really long. Yeah. And he would just get so upset.
Yeah, everyone tells us, you know, it's not unexpected. He's 3 and blah, 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 but
so we get it, we know it.
Still, it's harsh. Yeah, he's 3, but he's our 3-year-old.
Tell me a vehicle.
Bicycle.
Good job. Tell me another vehicle.
Airplane.
Airplane is a vehicle. Yay. Okay, 2 more. Okay. Tell me a food.
I can't eat food.
Pancake is a food.
Yeah.
Tell me another food. Tell me another one.
Food.
Cereal bar is a food. Yeah.
But he's a zebra. Hey, Chuck Riley.
Yes.
Good job. Tell me an animal.
What's is animal?
What's that?
Tell me one more time. What's the animal?
What's is animal? What's is
Rhinoceros.
Rhinoceros. Oh, okay, it's an animal. Tell me another animal.
What's is
I
animal?
know. Tell me another one. Oh, here are your shoes. What animal is that?
Froggy.
Froggy is a what? No, frog is a
Arrow.
good. So tell me another animal.
What's is animal?
Rhinoceros is an animal, and tell me another one.
More pancake.
No, look at me. No, no, look at me.
What is animal?
There you go. Thank you. Pancakes are not animals, silly.
There's a clue from it.
More pancake.
Yeah, and I don't mind if he looks around to like get clues, get hints. That's totally fine. Yes, I've been running sessions a little bit more like that lately, just because his behaviors have been really high. Just like if we're jumping on the bed or dancing, I'll stop for a minute and ask him like 3 or 4 questions, and then we'll just keep dancing or whatever we're doing. Let me probe. There's some stuff real quick.
What are you going to be probing?
Actions. So I just want to see if he already knows it, then I won't even bother introducing it. Give me kissing. Oh, good. What are the kids doing?
He's kissing.
Oh, they're kissing. Can you show me kissing? Oh, good job. Give me cleaning. Okay, good. What's the girl doing?
She's cleaning.
She's cleaning. Good job.
Water.
Okay, one more. Can I have it? One more. Give me crying. What's the baby doing?
She's baby.
What's she doing? What's the baby doing?
She's baby.
She's wah. She's crying.
She's crying.
Oh, okay. Maybe we'll do crying.
He's kissing.
He's kissing. What about this one? What's she doing there?
She's cooking.
Oh, she's cooking. Okay. And what's this one? What's she doing?
She's crying.
Oh, okay. So basically, he knows all of them. All right, cool. All right. What are they doing?
She's dirty.
They're what?
There's cooking.
Oh, they're cooking. Good job.
What's that cooking? What's that cooking?
Mom is cooking?
What's that cooking?
Lots of cooking? Oh, okay, cool. All right, all done. Thank you.
Welcome back to Autism Live. That was the A word, and I hope that you will take this gift, because that's really what it is, the A word, and use it however you want to, whatever way works for you. I know many of you have written in and said that you didn't know what ABA therapy was, what it looked like, until you saw the A word. That's a great way to use this tool. For others, I know that you're taking it and using it and saying to your outside your nuclear family, saying, hey, take a look at what's going on in our house, so that maybe they get a little bit of an idea of how intensive this is in your home. For others, you're using it in lots of different ways, whether it's looking and saying, oh, this is how they handled this moment, or there are so many different ways to use it. I hope that you will. They have their very own YouTube page, and I hope that you'll check it out and watch those videos there. If you're just tuning in with us, I excuse me, I apologize. I'm getting over a little bit of a thing, and so that's why my voice is so much lower. But we've got some really exciting things going on this week. Now, I have a guest who's sitting on the desk right now. If Kelby wants to show you who it is, you can see my lovely co-host at the moment, this pretty little puppy. And if you're wondering why he's here, it's a stuffed dog. Not real. We can't have any real dogs on the show. The studio is just way too small for that. Although I love puppies. So he's your hint about what's happening here tomorrow. Something very hilarious and fun will be happening tomorrow during Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And here's your hint. Nancy and I have been talking about who we will come in costume this year. You know, last year we came as Lucy and Ethel. And, excuse me. But this is your hint. So we've asked you guys to write in and say who you think we're going to come as. Excuse me. We're going to take a break so that I can have a coughing break. And we're going to be back with more of Autism Live after these messages.
Hi, welcome to Camp Discovery, a free-to-play suite of fun, interactive learning games for kids 2 and up, designed by experts in autism. Camp Discovery will open your early learner to a world of new skills, shapes, numbers, colors, locations, emotions, and more. Let's get started.
Please choose a level.
Objects. First, Camp Discovery's Intelligent Preference Assessment determines your child's preferred reward for choosing correctly. Okay, got it. Let's play. Camp Discovery creates a motivating learning environment for your child by minimizing incorrect responses and maximizing successful ones.
Find the shoes.
Respond correctly and your child is rewarded with their favorite animations.
You did it.
Respond incorrectly and our unique prompting system guides your child to the correct answer by making it the largest choice.
That's not it. Try again. Way to go.
Continue to answer correctly and the size gradually reduces until the child makes the correct choice independently.
You win.
Success! Rewards motivate learning. Complete a round and your child is rewarded with a fun mini-game. Track your child's progress with easy-to-read graphs. Multiple settings options allow you to customize Camp Discovery to your child's unique needs. All this in one single app, the Camp Discovery app, available for free on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon Store.
Welcome back to Autism Live. You guys have written in a lot of things over the weekend and even a little bit this morning, and I want to take a couple of seconds to talk about some of it. Some of it I am going to wait for Dr. Grampuchet tomorrow. And by the way, we have Dr. Doreen Grampuchet tomorrow, and she's answering your questions, so you can be writing those in right now. Somebody wrote in and said, "Hi, Shannon, can you please upload the nagging video as a short video on YouTube? It would serve as a great reminder for myself and would love to share with my with my awesome, not autism, awesome husband, and thank you." I assume you're referring to when Dr. Jonathan Tarbox was here with us on Thursday. He and I got into talking about nagging. Unfortunately, because we take our whole shows and then we cut them up, we post the whole show and we cut out a couple of highlights and then we toss the whole show. So unfortunately, I can't do that. But I'll tell you what I will do. A couple of different things. If you can go on the YouTube page and you can put the timer right there, and there's a box where you can click, say, start at, and you can send it to people that way. So you can send it to your husband that way, and we can also email it to you that way if you will write me your email address. Then I will know who to send it to. Okay, so somebody wrote in, and it came in after Dr. Sush left. How would talking about my child with autism help me to deal with the fact that it's me who has to deal with this on a daily basis? And whoever wrote that, I just want to tell you how much I love you, because that is something that I said probably 100 times. When people said to me, you know, you could go and explore therapy for yourself, and that's exactly my take on it was, and how is that going to change the fact that it's me? I'm the person that needs to be dealing with this. And I could not see anything past that because, and this is one of the things that I've experienced is that, excuse me, sometimes when something is true, then it becomes the truth, right? And you can't get past it. And one of the things that I've learned through acceptance commitment therapy is something can be true and not be the whole entire truth. I know, isn't that, I'll say that again. So, when sometimes we say, okay, this is the truth, and that becomes everything. And in ACT therapy, acceptance commitment therapy, you're taught that we tend to look at life through goggles and we go, oh, there's the truth. There it is right there. I can see the truth. It's there. And because we can't dispute that it's true, it becomes the whole entire truth. When in fact, there are other truths that are outside the viewpoint of this narrow viewpoint. Yeah, it's true that your child has autism, and it's true that you're the person who gets to deal with it. It's absolutely true, but it's also true that other people care about that. It's also true that there are people who, while you're sleeping, are trying to come up with ways to help you, and they don't even know you. That's also true. And it's true that sometimes we experience this with our kids when they're going through something and we get them to express it. Like we see a child who is kicking something, and there's clear frustration, and they're kicking, maybe it's a can or a piece of furniture or the family dog or another kid. And we see that frustration that's in them, and we sit them down. And if we're able to, through speech or through text or through sign language, get them to talk about what's happening in that moment, it doesn't make it go away at all. It doesn't change that aspect of it. But we've all experienced this. It lightens the load. It does. It helps us to put it into the perspective. There's something about sharing it that makes it easier. I say this to my son all the time. He's had a couple of nightmares in the last year, and when he wakes up, he says, I don't want to talk about it, and he's upset. And I say to him, share it. By sharing it, it makes it smaller. And he says, how can that be? And I say, I don't know, but it does. It does. And when you have somebody that you can go to and say, this feels like crap, and I'm mad, and I'm frustrated, and I'm stuck, and it feels miserable, there's something about that that leaves room for other stuff. It's like an exhalation, and there's room for other stuff. It's not going to change the fact that you're the person who's dealing with it, but it might make it easier for you. Might make you feel like you still matter, because it's easy, excuse me, it's easy to get lost in, I'm an autism parent. That's only what I am. I said to my friends, all I want is for him to get better, and I don't get to have wants for myself anymore. I said that to my friends. I don't get to want things. I don't get to want to make progress on things that have to do with me, because I need to focus on him. And what I had to learn was that that wasn't good for him, and that wasn't good for me. One of the reasons why I talked to Dr. Sush about how do we deal with the anger is because I had this conversation with somebody the other day about sometimes the anger can be so all-encompassing that I have in the past lost sight of what was most important to me, which is helping him get to the progress. And if I'm so angry that I lost the mission, whew, that's bad, right? And it's one of the reasons why I want to work on the anger issues, so that that doesn't happen again. And I just know that I've been to a couple of conferences where people have talked about the fact that autism parents, as if we don't have enough to deal with it, are more likely to get breast cancer, colon cancer, and prostate cancer. And they think it has something to do with the stress. So anything we can do to lower the stress, anything we can do to lower the stress, and we do know that sharing it with somebody else, dumping it, whether it's sharing it with somebody else or dumping it on paper, it allows room for more things. So that's why. But I'm here. I've walked this path. I understand why you feel that way. And I got sick. And I had to then get help. So if you're willing to see it in another way, it may be useful to you, but it doesn't, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it, but that's why it's helpful to some people. All right, we've got other questions, but I really want to get to this great interview that we did this morning with Kevin Custer. All this week we're talking about making sense. He is an amazing individual who is a venture capitalist who helps to find products and services and technology that helps our kids. He's out there looking for these kinds of things that make sense to bring them to market to us to help our kids. It's really amazing. And he's taking part in Ocali is having a conference, and we're going to be talking with some people from Ocali a little bit later on in the hour, and we'll explain everything what that is. But at this conference, they have something called the Innovation Playground, and that's what Kevin Custer was talking about with us this morning, and so we're going to play that tape for you now. Take a look. Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so thrilled that for the second time we have a very special guest who's joining us. Kevin Custer is joining us right now via Skype, and today he's here to talk with us about a really incredible and innovative way to learn about new products. I'm talking about the Innovation Playground. So Kevin, first of all, welcome back to Autism Live.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here. We love getting the feedback and hearing from all your participants.
Well, it's a thrill to have you. You are a gentleman who has many different things going on in this field, and we've talked with you before about some of the different projects that you're working on, and maybe if we get a chance, we'll talk more about those. But I really want to get to talking about Ocali and this Innovation Playground. We've got some guests who are going to explain more of the Ocali end of it for us, but tell us what this Innovation Playground is.
Well, really, Shannon, our idea of what we're trying to create here is a place for people to come in and sit down and try, do, feel, touch, experience different pieces of innovation and seeing what it's like. A lot of times you go to an exhibit hall or something like that and somebody's standing there trying to sell you something. That's not the case at all here. Ocali, the founders of Ocali, the directors there, have put together this playground area where you can come in and sit down and use the technology, use the different types of innovations that are there, and see what it's like for yourself. Yeah. So it's not a sales thing. It's a sit down, touch, use, feel, do, and really a chance to see what it's like. And it's made both for educators and practicing practitioners. But it's also, I think, Ocali is open to the public for a little while in Columbus. And so families, people like that, will just be able to come in and sit down and try stuff.
I really love this idea. One of my favorite places in Disneyland is when you go into the dream house and you get to see all the technology that they're bringing. And this, to me, feels like the same thing, but it's very specific for our families that are dealing with special needs. So talk to us a little bit about some of the people that we already know are going to be participating, some of the companies, some of the innovators at the Innovation Playground this year.
Sure. There's about 6 or 7 different companies that are going to be set up there, and they have an entire range of people, from really sophisticated technology to things that you wear, things like that. So highlights of a couple of them. One of your friends is going to be there. His name is Milo. He's a humanoid robot.
I love Milo.
He will be set up and a chance for people to interact with him and see what he's like. He's about a 2-foot tall robot from outer space that comes in and talks to kids with and works with kids with autism. But it's designed here for a chance for families to interact and see what it's like to be able to use something like that in a therapeutic setting with them. So that's a good example of one. There's one of the companies is called C8 Sciences. C8 Sciences worked with Yale and NIH and spent several $1 million and several years worth of research, and kind of figured out how to use computer simulation and physical exercise to build new executive functioning in kids.
Wow.
And it's fascinating research. They have it proven that really what they're able to do is take the attention elements of kids and be able to grow new neural growth endings in them. And so if you have a child who's on Ritalin or something like that, about 30% of them don't need it anymore. It's a fascinating piece of technology, and the families will go down and a chance to use it. It's kind of like Lumosity, except only specifically for autism and executive functioning. It's quite fascinating technology.
Wow, that sounds exciting. I want to play with that. That sounds really fun. So what else? I want to know more.
Okay. So a couple other ones. One company that's reinventing itself, and they're bringing out a whole new product line. They're going to be kind of introducing it, showing it there. Is a company by the name of Dynavox. And a lot of people know Dynavox because that was the old-fashioned type assistive communication device that people in wheelchairs used to use. I always called it the Stephen Hawking voice. And that's right. Well, they've reinvented themselves, and they're going to be showing off some of their new technology when they're there. One of the ones that I'm pretty excited about is called Snug Vest. This isn't technology as in there's nothing to plug into. It's not electronic. It's a wearable therapy device. And what that really means, it's an inflatable deep pressure therapy vest that you're able to put on. It's stylish looking. As soon as parents grab it and feel it, they're like, wow, this is really nice. My child could use this. And it's designed to relieve anxiety, and it's self-controlled. So you have the ability to have whoever's wearing it is able to pump it up and increase the pressure on it, and it makes it feel like you're having a big hug. And then once you have a hug, you've calmed down, and it's been proven to lower the chemicals in your body, things like that. And fascinating type device, and actually stylish. The designer who designed it won several medical device awards for this type of style. So
wonderful. I have to ask if Temple Grandin has seen this vest yet, because I'm going to guess that she would love it.
So yes, Temple Grandin has seen it. She's written an endorsement on it.
Wonderful.
She loves the idea. Her comment was, if I had one of these, I wouldn't need to build a squeeze machine in the first place.
Right.
Because it goes with them, and it's on demand. So you can wear it, and it looks just like you're wearing a plain old normal vest that's stylish looking. It has a hoodie, things like that. But then you just get a little stressed or something like that, you have the ability to take the pump and pump it up a little bit and just add a little pressure. And if you're really stressed, you can add a whole bunch of pressure.
And likewise, you could dial it down, too.
Exactly, just as you want. It's not made to use all the time. It's made to help get you through transitions or stressful situations, anything like that. They have a money-back guarantee, and they have about 90-some% of people who get it keep it. About 10% of the people return it because they put the vest on the child, and the child just didn't want to wear anything. So it was. They've had very good success, and people get to try them on and walk around with them and see what it's like.
And the thing I love about all of these different products are they make sense in our community. They're all things that you go, wow, that's exciting. I love hearing about that. And that's really your area, that you're somebody who brings innovation and things that make sense to the market. And I have to say, I appreciate you so much for that, Kevin.
Thanks. It's a fascinating place. We call it the pebble in the pond effect, because in the world that deals with autism or kids with special needs or people with special needs as a whole, you can have a small piece of technology that really has a profound effect on someone's life. Like the Snug Vest thing is a good example. It calms somebody down and helps them through a transition, helps you getting on the bus, helps you going to lunch, anything else like that, and that changes the quality of life.
Absolutely.
We like investing in that. We have one other company.
Oh, I want to hear.
This is a brand new one. They just released their product starting at the Autism Society conference last July, and this is the first time they've shown it to schools. It's called Safe and Found, and basically they have two things. They have a little QR code on a bracelet that says, "Do I look lost?" And you can have it on a bracelet or a tag on a backpack or something like that. And if a police officer or somebody comes up and sees the code and you look lost, they will scan the code, and it goes to the website immediately. It will ping the caregiver or the parent, let them know where the child was found or the person was found, give that person things that they can do to talk to you about, give a chance for the caregiver to call the person immediately and say, yeah, they're lost, hang on to them. Here's what you can do to calm them down until we get there. And then they also have what I think is pretty fascinating, a piece of GPS technology that you put a safe zone onto a map, like a Google map. You map it out and say everything's okay if they're inside this zone. And as soon as they step out of the zone, it starts pinging every 2 minutes. and the caregiver can literally be logged right onto and see the exact location of somebody.
Wow.
So if you have a runner or you have somebody that is a flight risk, this is a perfect piece of technology, and it's a nominal monthly fee. I think the QR code one is like $5, and the GPS one is like $25 a month, and you get peace of mind. You always
Yeah. Is it worth it? And is it really easy to and usable to change the boundaries of the safe zone quickly and easily?
Absolutely. If you know how to use a Google Maps, you log in, you click on it, and you draw a circle, a radius around whatever you want. So you can put a radius around a high school. You could put a radius around your 4 square blocks. You can kind of put a radius around whatever you would like. And so it's what I like about it was very simple. So families don't have to spend their time managing it. They just check it off the list. Good. I know if my son's at the school, everything's fine. And if he goes out of the school, I'm going to find out about it.
Wow, I absolutely love that. So all of these things that are going to be shown, and not just shown, they're interactive displays that people can be trying out this technology at the Innovation Playground. This is happening at the Ocali Conference in just a couple of short weeks. Now, for people who are in the Cleveland area, what times can they come in and participate in the Innovation Playground?
Oh, I'm thinking it's going to be easier for people who are in the Columbus area.
Oh, sorry, Cleveland. I'm Columbus, sorry.
But people in Cleveland are still welcome to come if they would like.
But in Columbus, sorry.
Cincinnati, anywhere, if you're in New York, you can still go.
Yes, absolutely.
It's in Columbus. It happens on the 19th and the 20th. If you're a conference registrant, I believe that the conference is open to the public from 4 to 6 on the 19th for free. So people just come in and see what the different exhibitors are and things like that. And it'll be obvious to find the Innovation Zone. They'll be there and be able to see what it's like.
All right. Well, thank you so very much. We appreciate all of the innovation that you're bringing to our lives, and can't wait to hear more about things that are coming to market, but excited about this Innovation Playground.
Great. We're excited. Thanks for letting us share it with all your viewers, too.
And is there a place where you want people to go, Kevin, to know more about what you do and how you're bringing innovation to this world?
Sure. We have a website. Our firm is called ARC Capital Development. Our firm website is ARC, A-R-C, and then CD.com. And we're an early stage investment firm. We invest in companies in the education and then the special needs space. And so we look for companies like this that we can help bring to market. And we have a few criteria. It's got to be a very worthy, economical, and sustainable mission in the company. For us to be able to invest in it. We like worthy missions. We're very good supporters of those, but we need to, before we can write a check, we actually want to see them sustainable, and that's part of what we look for.
All right. Makes sense to me. Kevin, thank you so much, and we're going to be talking more about Ocali and hopefully getting a chance to talk to some of the people at the Innovation Playground when it's happening, so we'll look forward to that. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, Kevin.
You too. Thank you, Shannon.
Bye-bye. So Kevin Custer, man, don't you just want to play with the toys that he has to do with? So that's at the Innovation Playground, and we are going to be talking more about that in just a minute, so stick with us.
Hello there, fellow activist. You're an activist because you're making the world a better place for someone living with autism. Now on Autism Live, you learn all about your children. You learn about their bodies and their brains. But this empowerment moment is all about you. It's about your heart and your soul. Now don't worry, I'm not going to have you start singing Kumbaya or doing chanting. Let's talk about blessings. One of the blessings of living with a child with autism is learning to love them unconditionally. Learning to love them despite all the ups and downs, all the sacrifices. In fact, you learn to love them more so because of them. I call this my empowerment prayer. God grant me the wisdom to see my disability as an opportunity, the courage to love my child unconditionally, and the faith to live a life of purpose. So going from the sublime to the ridiculous, I have a little song for you today.
It's a rap song, so I know that an old or, middle-aged white woman rapping just doesn't seem right, but I'm gonna go for it anyway. My style is a little like Nicki Minaj meets Dr. Seuss. Nancy's autism rap. It's just a diagnosis, your life's not over. Don't lay there like a dog, get up, Rover. You say your head is spinning with GF, CF, ABA, IEPs, and neurofeedback? Autism tough, that much is true, but you'll survive because you're you. Your life's not over, it's just begun, so walk out that door and go be someone. More Dr. Seuss than Nicki Minaj. Until next time, stay strong and keep the faith.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We've got an interview that's coming up in just a few minutes to tell you more about Ocali. And I told you this week we're talking about things that make sense. Boy, you want to talk about making sense. This is a great thing that makes sense. But before we do that, I want to cover a couple of things that you guys wrote in on the live feature about our question of the day, which was what really infuriates you because it just does not make good sense. So somebody wrote in and says it makes no sense when school representatives during IEPs tell parents that there are no working issues for the child, even when the teacher cannot understand what their child says. It makes no sense that the school's expectations are so low, even lower for our special kids who could be so bright given the proper training. Yeah, well, you know, that IEP is a legal document, and the first thing that shocked me, because I had been a teacher who had sat on the other side of the table from the IEPs, but so the first time I sat as a parent, I was shocked by the low expectation on the goals. It was maddening. It hurt my feelings, to be completely honest. It infuriated me. And it was pointed out to me by a lot of my friends who are teachers, well, you do understand that that's a legal document and they're responsible for meeting those goals. So they don't want to put anything on the paper that they don't know that they can meet. I get it that that's one way to write goals, but I don't think it's the right way to write goals. So fight for there to be loftier goals on that IEP. And one way that you can do that is by going into skills, finding age-appropriate, skill-appropriate, IEP, benchmark, languaged things, lessons for your child, spitting them out and saying, here's what I think the goals should be. And it's an easy way to do it. The first time I had to do that, I, had books piled on my desk because I was looking up what are the state standards in New Jersey for this in preschool and what are the state standards in Arizona. It's a lot different now, and you can find it all in skills and make sure that it's age appropriate and skill appropriate for your child. But yeah, I'm with you on this one. Another person who says it makes no sense when a psych professional tells me, an autism mom, to watch Rain Man to get an idea of what my child will be like when he is an adult. He was 4 years old at the time. Okay, this is one of those things that the only purpose this serves in your life is it's a really good story. Because whoever this psych professional was, either was having the worst moment in their life or they're really somebody that no one should ever want to be treated by, because that is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But what a great story when you talk to people about ignorance that will make. It's like the ultimate benchmark story of this is how ridiculous people can be and how ignorant they can be about autism. Holy smokes. Another person who says it makes no sense when teachers don't take partner opportunities to match our kids with an outgoing typical peer, but another special needs kid who also needs help with verbal and social skills. Oh, I'm right there with you. What a great opportunity when they're pairing people together or putting a group of students together to pair our kids with kids who are able to do it all on their own. And yet, there are some people who don't understand the sense of that, and so they group all the kids who are struggling together. So let's watch them get further behind. Yes! No! So I'm right there with you. Makes absolute no sense whatsoever. But we can put these things out there, and hopefully somebody listening has the ability to move that dial a little bit, right? Somebody also wanted to know, does Dr. Sush also see children with autism or the neurotypical siblings of children with autism? Well, here's what I do know is that Dr. Sush, yes, does see children with autism. He works with a company called First Steps. And as for the neurotypical siblings of children with autism, I don't know, and it would depend on the age range. So I would encourage you to go to drdarrensush.com and check it out. And he also left his phone number that later when this show airs, because once we're done with it, it immediately gets uploaded so that you can rewind and watch the whole thing. But check it out, because what a great idea. Somebody who gets what it's like for the sibling as well. What a great, great, great idea. Okay, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to be joined with two really special guests, Simon Bear and Sean Henry, and they're going to be talking with us about Ocali, this wonderful thing that we've been talking about, along with the OcaliCon. Ocali stands for the Ohio Center for Autism and Low Incidence. And when we talk about things that make sense, you're going to love this, because it makes great sense and it's making a big difference in Ohio. So stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The Skills Assessment and Curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes Skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The Skills Assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the Skills Assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any about what we have to offer. how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
When Maddie was diagnosed, I'll be honest, I was very ignorant on what autism was. I knew that autism was basically something that hit boys at the age of 2 to 3. They shut down, and sometimes you think of the typical Rain Man movie. And with Maddie, she was doing all the same signs and symptoms of a typical child with autism spectrum disorder.
Stand up.
She didn't even acknowledge us coming into the room. She had barely any eye contact. She didn't interact with her sisters. She didn't really do anything. She just basically lined up her toys and that was about it. We have a team of 7 volunteers, or 8 now. We have 8 volunteers, including my husband and I. And I'm the team leader, and so I do all the curriculum and get everything ready each week.
Jana was downstairs until 11 o'clock at night working on curriculum, going through 2 different textbooks. And then we, as a group, meet on Monday nights, and we would go through what the curriculum was from Jana. And a lot of times we would go, well, how exactly do you do that? How do you sit her at the table and do this trial base? What Skills has done for us, it's taken that away from Jana trying to figure out the curriculum for one. She can go down, or even our laptop, and she can sit down and through all these questions, it comes up with the different programs.
At least for me, it was a relief off my shoulders. I was worried that I might be missing something, missing a curriculum that maybe she needs to know, where Skills, they have every possible thing your child needs to know from 0 to 7. They have a program for that.
What noise is this?
Good job! Every program that we did with her, I knew it was specific for what she needed to learn. Because before Skills, it was a lot of, okay, well, is that really age appropriate for a 2-year-old? You know, because it's not generalized. It's anywhere from 0 to 7. This is what your child needs to know. In most manuals you'll find. But for this, okay, yep, she should be learning this. And no, she's not 4 yet. She doesn't need to know that yet.
We are so fortunate that Jana was able to attend a conference put on by CARD that opened the door for Skills, and that there's no looking back for us.
We started using the program in November, and it seemed like by January something just clicked, and she has completely kind of came out of her fog that she was in for quite a while.
I have never read a documented case on any child that has not benefited anything from applied behavior analysis, and now with this new Skills and being, you know, like the E version of ABA, I can't imagine it doing anything harmful to their child. It's nothing but exponential growth for us.
To see her now, it just blows us away. I mean, we call her our little miracle child because in 7 months' time, she's just blossomed into this normal, functioning child, and suddenly, we joke about it all the time, like suddenly we have twins.
If you're even thinking about doing it, do it. Because the absolute worst thing you could do is do nothing at all. And even if you use this program and it's just a single mom or a single dad working in the evenings with their child, this program is going to benefit them. It's going to show you where they are, it's going to show you where they need to go, and it's going to show you what skills and how to get there. It is an online book on how to help recover your child.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We have Simon Buer and Sean Henry on Skype with us, but we're having trouble with the audio because sometimes Skype is not my friend. And I don't know why. I've done nothing but say nice things about Skype, but sometimes Skype is not my friend. So we're working that out. Kelby is working that out with the brilliant Simon Buer and Sean Henry from Ocali. Are we? Yes? Okay, we're ready. So we're not going to a break. We're just going to introduce, because this is a subject that I really love, when we make sense. And Ocali, which stands for the Ohio Center for Autism and Low Incidence, is something that makes great sense. So we have right now joining us via Skype, Simon Buer, who is the conference event manager for OcaliCon, which we've been talking about all day today. And we also have Sean Henry, who is the executive director of Ocali. Gentlemen, thank you for sticking with us through all the difficulties. We're thrilled to, and I see your beautiful set there. Now I know what Kelby was talking about. Welcome to Autism Live.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much.
So introduce yourselves, since we don't know which one of you is which. Tell us who's Simon and who is Sean.
Boss.
You go first.
All right. I'm Simon Buer. I'm the conference and events manager for Ocali. Focused mostly on OcaliCon, which is an event that comes up every year in November. I also do some of our marketing and communications work as well.
Okay.
Hi, and I'm Sean Henry. I'm the executive director here at Ocali, and I just stay out.
Okay. Well, we're thrilled that you guys are here. We are still getting some of the static. For those of you who are watching, we're aware of it, and we're hoping that it goes away, whatever is happening. But we mentioned that we're getting some direction from our producer here about how that might, we might have something work. Do you need me to tell them something? Okay. That's so much better. Okay, so all this week we're talking about things that make sense. And we're having trouble making sense of the interview because we're having trouble with the audio. But I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go to a short break, and I'm going to see if we can't get them on the phone, because I don't want you guys to have to listen to all that noise. So stick with us. We're going to get it done because this makes sense. We want to share it with you. Stick with us. Another parent wants to know, how do I find out that one thing that my kid is really good at?
Now, when they get older, they're going to kind of divide into two groups. You're going to have the kids that become verbal, and then you're going to have the kids that are nonverbal, got many more problems. Maybe they still have epilepsy or some other problem. And they kind of need different services. And the ones that get verbal, what we need to be doing with them is develop the area of strength. And that area of strength often will show up around 3rd or 4th grade, sometimes earlier. But my ability in art showed up when I was in 3rd and 4th grade, and it was always encouraged. And I was encouraged to do lots of different kinds of art. Otherwise, it would have just been endless horse heads. You know, Mother would say to me, "Why don't you draw a picture of a beach, or something else?" You want to broaden it out. If the kid's fixated on trains, let's teach reading with trains, math with trains. Tap into that fixation, but develop the area of strength. Some kids it's going to be art. Other kids it's going to be mathematics. So you got a 3rd grader who's smart in math, and he wants a 6th grade math book. Give him the 6th grade math book. Don't bore him with the baby stuff. But that kid's going to have trouble with reading, because the common thing is the uneven skills. And then you have the kids that are the history buffs, and these kids are often really good at writing skills. You tend to have uneven skills, but tap into their fixations and use those to motivate, but broaden. If he likes trains, just watching them, well, we're going to take that interest in trains to do some math with it, or maybe read about the history of the railroad. You know, tap into that motivation. One of the things I really want to talk about is we got to stretch these kids. I'm not talking about physically stretching them, mentally stretching them to do new things. I'm seeing too many kids that haven't learned how to shop, how to order food at McDonald's. So you start out, let's say it's ordering food at McDonald's or at Burger King. So you take them up there and they watch you order it. And then eventually you go in when the store's not busy, and they have to go up and order it while you're sitting at the table watching, and then you coach them. And then eventually they can go in the restaurant themselves. I can remember I was scared to go to the lumber yard alone and buy lumber. And Mother made me go. And she knew I could do it. I had bought lumber with her many times. But there's a tendency to want to have somebody else there when they do it, and they've got to learn how to do things alone. And you gradually have got to kind of push it. You've got to stretch them. And I'm seeing too many kids not learning basic skills. Saw a 19-year-old honors student that actually knows how to drive that had never shopped in the grocery store all by herself. That is just ridiculous. You know, you've got to stretch them. You push too hard, there can be panic. And the other thing is no surprises. No surprises. I knew all about the ranch long before I went there. I'd talked to Ann. But if you don't stretch these kids, they don't grow.
What do you think about ABA treatment?
ABA is the one that's documented, but I think that's what I think is important with little kids, the intensity. If this kid's 2, 3, and 4 years old, he needs 20 or 30 hours a week of intensive early intervention, working one-to-one with an effective teacher. And an effective teacher knows kind of how just hard to push, because you've got to stretch these kids. If you don't stretch them somewhere, they don't advance. You push on them too hard, they go into sensory shutdown. The worst thing you could do with an autistic 2-year-old is to do nothing with them and just let them sit there rocking. And when I was very young at 2 and a half, ABA type things were used on me, but it wasn't called ABA in that day. You know, my teacher would hold up a cup and she'd speak slowly. You got to speak slowly to these kids because there's auditory processing problems. She'd say cup, and then I'd say cup, and the teacher would praise me. You know, that's very similar to ABA. You know, ABA in its original form is a little kids program. The whole idea is you're trying to get language jump-started. And I like the more flexible kinds of ABA. You got different levels of kids. I had ABA type stuff when I was young, but then after I pulled out of it, I didn't have to go through elaborate things of getting ready for school. I still have this habit now today. I lay my clothes out the night before that I'm going to wear, so when I'm sleepy I can just get them on. And then you have other individuals where they've got to do very structured, breaking down the task analysis. This is where after you get out of the little kids and you get them talking, they kind of diverge into different levels of functioning. And a type of ABA program that'd be suitable for a very severe kid would not be something you'd want to do with a mild Asperger kid, because you're going to bore them to death and make them hate school.
Absolutely. Welcome back to Autism Live. As promised, we have sorted out some issues that we were having technically, and we have Simon Buer, who is the conference event manager for OcaliCon, and we have Sean Henry, who is the executive director of OCALI, which stands for the Ohio Center for Autism and Low Incidence, with us. We've got them on a cell phone, so we've got picture from Skype and audio from cell phone, and I want to congratulate both of them on being great and perseverant and sticking with us while we figured out how we can make this interview work, because that's what makes sense. And all this week we're talking about what makes sense. So Sean, I want to start with you and talk about, because I think that OCALI is something that makes great sense. Would you tell our viewers what OCALI does and why it's there?
Well, thank you for saying that, because we truly want to make sense. Kind of our motto is linking research to real life. And so unless you are making sense, you can't connect to that real life piece. We're legislatively mandated to exist here in Ohio, and that started back in 2004 just to meet the growing need for families and individuals with autism here in the state of Ohio. And so I would say we basically do three things, kind of three buckets. We inform and influence policy, and we do that through we're connecting with all of our state agencies. So we don't work with just one state agency, but across the lifespan, which we think is critical to really affecting change. And so again, so things that make sense is policy working at the ground level and making sure we inform the state if it is or is not. We also have a group that meets at OcaliCon called the National Autism Leadership Summit, which is really looking at statewide policy in many different states. So we want to affect change here, but also nationally to have influence. We consult and collaborate is the next bucket. We consult and collaborate with truly anyone and everyone who is trying to affect change, and that would be from national partners like housing our autism internet modules and working with the National Professional Development Center on Autism Spectrum Disorders, or locally working with restaurants to be more open and inviting individuals and their families into local restaurants so that their quality of life is greater, so they can go enjoy an evening out. So it could be local community all the way to the national level. And on the third thing we do is research, develop, and deploy best practices. We do that in multiple modes. A lot of our work, we always think of anything we do, what would that look like that we could expand it out to many, many more folks in the field. And so looking at that, you could look at, we've trained physician teams working with the Department of Developmental Disabilities across the state, so physicians are understand early screening. We have local diagnostic teams, so you don't have to wait 6 months to a year. Locally, you can get a diagnosis and be far more comfortable being close to home, or through our Autism Internet modules, which we push out internationally. So I would say those three buckets: informing and influencing policy, consulting and collaborating with all of our friends who are trying to make change, and research, developing, and deploying best practices. So that is Ocali in a nutshell.
Well, it's a pretty big nutshell, and it's pretty impressive, especially when you stop and consider that we've been, talking about how do we go about being the most resourceful to help this community. And many of us have said we need exactly what you're doing on a national level. So I want to thank you for setting a standard and saying this is how we're going to do it in Ohio, and setting a precedent so that someday, I hope soon, we're going to get to this kind of participation on a national level. But you've set the bar high, and we appreciate it. And now we're gonna talk a little bit about this OcaliCon, which is really a very exciting thing that even people who aren't in Ohio might be interested in. So Simon, tell us a little bit about OcaliCon.
Sure, absolutely. So it's coming up next, just in a few weeks here, next November, or this coming November. It's actually coming more quickly than we realized. I think I looked at the calendar earlier this week. We got 3 weeks left. So a lot of last-minute preparations, a lot of scrambling, trying to get everything into our program, which goes to print tomorrow. But the dates are November 19th through the 21st, and it takes place at our convention center in downtown Columbus. We bring in about 1,500 people, and while the majority of them are from Ohio, I think last check we had people from over 40 other states who are coming in. And it's a wide range of participants and attendees. So we have educators, we have support folks such as speech-language pathologists, occupational therapists, psychologists, higher ed folks, folks at other centers similar to Ocali across the nation. Sean mentioned we have a National Autism Leadership Summit that we hold, so we bring in some high-level policy-focused individuals to come in. We have a UDL, or a Universal Design for Learning Summit that's part of the conference. We have over 150 sessions. We have 50 research posters that will be featured at the conference. So there's a lot to it. It's a large event, about 1,500 total people, and we're real excited. It's almost here.
And we had spoken with Kevin Custer early this morning about the Innovation Playground, which sounds like a really exciting thing. But and during the interview, at one point he said, well, there's a friend of yours that's going to be here, and he mentioned Milo, and I thought who he was talking about was Danny Bowman, because Danny Bowman is one of your keynote speakers, and she's a very good friend of our show. So many of our viewers are familiar with her, but we have new viewers all the time. Tell us about both of your keynote speakers.
Sure, absolutely. Well, actually, I'll go in the order. Danny Bowman's coming on Thursday, but we have to kick things off, we have our Wednesday keynote speaker, who's Dr. Ami Klin, who's down at Emory University in Georgia. He's done a lot of work with early diagnosis and identification, and the importance and significance of that as it impacts the entire life of the child. So we're real excited to have Dr. Quinn with us to kick things off on Wednesday. And then, as you mentioned, Danny Bowman, the animator, illustrator extraordinaire, who started her animation company, I think at the age of 14, Power Light Animation Studios. She's been actually here at our offices the past couple of years, leading an animation camp for students, teenagers, young adults with autism who have an interest in learning animation arts and illustration. So that's how we first became familiar with Danny, and we're really excited to have her as our keynote speaker on Thursday.
Absolutely. For any parent who's out there who's looking for some inspiration from a young adult who's on the spectrum, I guarantee you Danny can get that job done for you. She's an amazing young woman on the spectrum herself, and having a really wonderful, productive, fabulous, interactive life. An amazing young woman and an amazing young teacher. We're running out of time, so I want to make sure that people know how to connect with you guys. So first of all, Simon, what's the best place for them to go to find out about OcaliCon?
If you just go to OcaliCon, OCALICON.org. That's our website. If you'd like to talk to somebody on the phone, we'd be happy to connect with you that way. You can reach us at area code 614-410-0321.
And I will say, Sean, because we're out of time, Ocali.org is another place that you can go to find more about Ocali. We're totally out of time, but I thank you, gentlemen, for hanging in with us. I think your event's going to be wonderful. We're going to be doing some interviews, hopefully, from your Innovation Playground Live. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for what you do.
Thanks so much.
All right. And I'm going to say to our viewers at home, we're completely out of time, but don't miss tomorrow. Ask Dr. Doreen in a very special Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.